Alrighty boys, welcome back once again to another video. How you guys doing? Guys, today we're going to be talking about update version 11.40 for Fortnite Save the World, and probably not exactly for the right of reasons. For those of you guys that maybe play Save the World a bit casually, or maybe you don't even play it at all, version 11.40 for this game has been absolutely detrimental for the Save the World community, and it's definitely been added to that list of updates which were very close to completely destroying the entirety of the game, which by the way, it's a pretty long list. Now, by the time I'm making this video, a lot of the issues with version 11.40 have actually been fixed. And those issues, at least one of which on a surface level doesn't sound too bad, but what it ends up causing as a result is absolutely detrimental to a lot of the player base. And these issues, of course, are extremely horrendous server issues whenever this update went live that would pretty much make it to where you could barely even play the game. A lot of the missions were extremely laggy, the husk would walk in place, you would try to build something and it would disappear, and most of the time you would end up getting crashed out of your mission. Now, for a lot of people that ended up getting crashed out of their missions due to these server issues, segueing on over to the next point, would have their entire inventories wiped, both their storage and their backpack completely gone in the snap of a finger, and I don't exactly need to tell you why that is a big deal. Now, of the time of creating this video, these issues have been fixed, and I'm going to leave the first link in the description for any of you guys that maybe have been affected by the inventory wipe bug. You guys can go contact, customer support, and they said that they will take care of it if you do go there. But I do want to drive home that just because these issues were fixed does not mean we need to let Epic Games off the hook for this kind of stuff, because let's be honest here, if we did, then we would be doing a disservice to this community. And I'm not talking about content creators, I'm talking about players, I'm talking about content creators, I'm talking about anybody that plays this game, anyone in the community. We can't just let this kind of stuff off the hook, because if we don't hold Epic Games accountable for this kind of stuff, it's just going to keep happening over and over and over again. And I definitely do encourage that you guys do share this video around, maybe help it get a little bit of publicity so that people know, hey, Save the World is getting completely shafted day in and day out by updates like this, at least on a season by season basis. And it's pretty ridiculous. I am going to try to keep this video a little bit constructive, as most of my videos are positive, and I don't like, absolutely hating on a game or bashing it for no reason. But whenever Epic Games does something, I am going to criticize them on that whenever they deserve it, and this is definitely a case where they do. So in this video, I'm going to be going over every single thing about this patch from the very beginning all the way to the end, giving you guys some minor details you may have not known about, and a few opinions here and there about the entire situation. Before we do jump into it, and I know this is more of a serious video, so I'm going to keep it very quick, I want to give a quick shout out to Drew for using my code at gfuel.com. My code's actually 30% off right now. If you guys would like to support me, it's code demonjoefr. One of the best ways to support the channel, and I really do appreciate it, Drew. But let's go ahead and jump into the video. So things all start out on January the 15th, whenever this update actually released, with a Reddit post that came out, I want to say at least an hour or two after the update dropped, which says version 11.40 is great. And he said, so I think the update is pretty good. Now I finally have my inventory nice and clean, and the best part of all is that my storage is now clean. Pretty much just saying that his stuff got completely wiped. Now Magist, who's an Epic employee, ended up responding to this. He said, so far the reports, both internal and external, aren't super widespread of inventory wipes. I've reached out to players reporting this and grabbing their account information for further investigation. Definitely seems related disconnects between client and servers due to the current lag. However, the wipe isn't affecting every player. We've released some server fixes that resolve more severe cases of the desyncing that's occurring, and inventory loss shouldn't occur since these fixes, but we're still keeping our ear to the ground. By no means am I saying the lag is completely resolved all the way. Now, around 48 hours later, a near 2-day period goes by before an actual post comes out by Epic Drewby that says investigating inventory issues. It says, hey everyone, we're currently looking into the issue of dealing with inventories being wiped. If you're running into this issue, please attach your account information to this thread. You may also DM me your account information so that I can send it to the development team. Around 7 hours after this post was up, we ended up getting a tweet from Fortnite Status that says, we've implemented a fix to prevent future loss of items from backpack and storage, as well as the ability to build structures for Save the World players. And then they go on to say contact support if you need to, and all that other kind of stuff if you were affected by this issue. So at the end of the day, it seems like a pretty good thing, right? They were actually able to get the entire situation fixed. You can contact player support if you were affected and all that kind of stuff. But there's actually two details here that make this situation situation absolutely ridiculous, and it just makes me want to facepalm so ridiculously hard at how the situation was handled and how it's actually already been handled in the past. In the past, around December the 18th of 2018, there was a post that came out from Fortnite that says, "Save the World has been disabled while we investigate issues with the Storm Shield storage and the Frostnite mode." This hasn't even been the first time that inventory wipes have occurred. In fact, I believe that inventory wipes have occurred 3 times in total, once happening a very long time ago when the game was first getting started, then happening when this tweet came out around Frostnite 2018, and now around the patch of 11.40. This is nowhere even near the first time that this has happened, and the way that this was handled was absolutely ridiculous on top of that. As you guys can see from this tweet, they actually disabled Save the World temporarily so that they could fix this issue and then bring the servers back up after it was fixed, so people weren't exactly experiencing it, and everybody that got their stuff wiped actually was given it back. I personally was affected by this, all this time ago during Frostnite 2018. Now, the reason that this makes me particularly mad in this case is that the community wasn't even told about this issue from Epic Games themselves. Yes, there was a Reddit post that was put on a Reddit thread, a response by Magist around 2 days ago, where he was like, hey, we're looking into it, and then followed by that there was a Reddit thread that was made, but was also made the day that the fix was implemented, so only 7 hours before it was actually implemented. But the thing that really annoys me here is that the actual player base wasn't informed by Epic Games at all, and that was actually the job of content creators. You had people like Rounded Tic Tac creating YouTube videos to tell people not to play Fortnite Save the World because there were widespread inventory wipes. You had people like me on my Twitch channel and on Twitter constantly telling people, hey man, inventory wipes are going on, be careful, you might not want to play, maybe stay away from the game. And you had other content creators on top of just us everywhere across the community telling people not to play so that they don't get their stuff wiped. There wasn't even an in-game message in either the news feed or on the map for Save the World to point out that this was even going on, which they do all the time. When stuff like these servers are going down, when you go to the Save the World map, it'll tell you the date that downtime for the server starts and all that kind of stuff. A very good heads up on what's going on. In this case, there was never even a singular mention, hey, maybe if you crash while you're in the middle of a mission, you might lose your entire inventory. This was only conveyed on Twitter and on Reddit, and let me tell you something, not the entire community is on Reddit or on Twitter. A lot of people don't even use those platforms whatsoever and rely strictly off of stuff like in-game messages and YouTube, and I gotta say, that is absolutely ridiculous. I think the way that this was handled was abysmal on their end, and it was handled very poorly, and it's something that definitely needs to be learned from them, as you can't have something as big as inventory wipes going on and not actually telling the player base yourself, relying on content creators like myself and Tic Tac and Chedic and Isherwood, all sorts of other people having to tell people, hey, you might not want to play the game because you're going to get your stuff completely taken from you. I personally think it's pretty ridiculous that nothing was ever said. I am glad that it's being fixed, don't get me wrong, and the fact that you can get your stuff back by contacting support. I just think the way that this was handled was very, very terrible, and the fact that it's already happened twice beforehand just really boggles my mind as to why this is a reoccurring issue. Now, moving on from this, I actually want to talk about the server issues. Now, the server issues actually stem from around a week and a half ago, from whenever the Vendor Tech Seeker first released into the game, where the Vendor Tech Seeker was actually pretty much useless because server issues were preventing it from even doing damage. We ended up having posts that were coming out on Twitter after version 11.40 launched, which was, around the time that Epic Games had already been back from Christmas break for a while. There was a post on Twitter that said, we're investigating an issue with server performance in Save the World. We will update you when we have more information. This was later followed an entire day later by Fortnite status that said the issue involving server performance in Save the World has been resolved, and will provide an update for server issues for creative and whatever at the end of it, right? Okay, so server issues were fixed on January the 16th. Except they really weren't entirely. Looking at a tweet from Chedic, he said, I'm going to try and get my account wiped next stream. I just need to know if it's true. There was a post by David Dean under this, and if you guys don't know who David Dean is, he is one of the biggest people in the community, one of the people that helped kickstart my YouTube channel, somebody that I respect greatly, and I have nothing but good things to say about the guy. An extremely nice dude. He actually replies to this tweet and he says, "Just had my account wiped as I was trying to do a video." He even later went on to Reddit and went into detail talking about how he was actually having server issues that disconnected him from the game that he was in and then wiped his entire account. Which does lead me to actually question, were the server issues actually fixed on the 16th, or were they just saying that? David Dean was having server issues an entire day later, as well as many other players, and still getting his account wiped before the actual fix was implemented. Now, this could have been because Epic Games was working to get the issue fixed, but I figured that it was a little bit of an interesting talking point. My point here is that this update right here, version 11.40, should not have happened the way that it did, because 11.40, in my opinion, actually implemented some really cool stuff. We got a new quest line, we got some new Fortnite challenges, we got some stuff that came in the event store and, you know, the weekly store, and most of all, we ended up getting a new hero that came with a really fun team perk that, for me personally, has revolutionized gameplay and has made it extremely fun for me. I love playing the game because of this new team perk, and I'm really enjoying myself. But you have stuff like this inventory wipe, and you have stuff like these server issues that completely ruin the experience, and it just makes me wonder, why? Why is this such a reoccurring thing for Epic Games? And I gotta say that I'm not exactly too frustrated with the people that work on Save the World specifically. I'm not talking about really the development team as much as I am talking about Epic Games as a company, maybe the higher ups, for example, right? It doesn't take a genius to know that the Save the World team is vastly underfunded compared to the creative team and the Battle Royale team, so I don't really want to give those people too much flack. I know the people that work on Save the World genuinely want this game to succeed. They genuinely want to make it the best that they can, and they want to see this, you know, video game, they want to see it do well. You know, that's what I'm trying to say, and I respect that, and I know that's what they want for the game. But Epic Games as a company, the multi-billion-dollar company that is releasing patches like this for their game, where for the third time, their players, their consumers, their customers are getting their inventories completely wiped and having to start from scratch without even being told about it in an actual in-game message that, hey, this might be happening, or hey, you should contact support if it happened, not even giving people a proper heads up about it. You know what I mean? A multi-billion-dollar company that can't even properly get these patches off the ground and get them functioning, you know, without having some huge issue. Save the World server issues, I can live with that. But server issues that lead to me losing thousands of hours of progress, can't exactly live with that too well. No, I can't. It's absolutely frustrating, and just because these issues were fixed doesn't mean that they shouldn't be talked about. Epic Games needs to up their communication with the community, they need to up their quality control, and frankly, they need to put more into the Save the World development team. The fact that Epic Games lets this stuff happen, you know, week in and week out, or on a seasonal basis where these game-breaking bugs happen, is just ridiculous. You know, it took them nearly 3 days to get the inventory issue fixed. I mean, it's nighttime on the eastern side of, you know, the United States by the time that they actually released that the backpack glitch was fixed. A mere very close to 72-hour period went by without this being fixed and without the player base being properly notified about it. I just personally think it's absolutely ridiculous, man. Epic Games, you guys got to do better. This is the kind of stuff that I wish that, you know, gaming journalist websites would cover and get out there, that people would actually talk about. But because it saved the world, nobody cares. You know, this was the original game mode for Fortnite. It really was. The original game mode, the game mode that started it all, that got Fortnite to where it is. And it gets treated so badly by Epic Games as a whole. And I love this game. I don't want to see it go down this road. Just because I'm a content creator and I make money off of covering this game doesn't mean that I've just lost all passion for it. I could easily go to another game and, you know, get more views off of it and make more money, do Battle Royale clickbait if I wanted to, but I don't. And you know why? It's because I love Save the World and I believe it can go places. And for people that even tell you that Save the World is never going to become something big, just look at Battlefront 2. One of my favorite all-time games right now was a game that came out in an absolute abysmal state and is now absolutely fantastic, blooming with life, filled with content, filled with things to do, and the game itself is in an absolute fantastic state overall. Battlefront 2 is one of those games that started from nothing, being absolute trashed and completely talked bad about, to a game that is actually beloved by many today, including myself. Looking at Rainbow Six Siege, we had the exact same treatment. Looking at Destiny 2, you see the exact same thing. Looking at Warframe, you see the exact same thing. If anyone tells you that Save the World isn't going to be a big game in the future, they just have ignored every other game that went from nothing to something. But we don't talk about Anthem. Okay, maybe that was uncalled for. But you guys get my point. Save the World has the potential to be a very, very successful game, especially whenever it goes free to play, especially whenever it gets the locker system. And if it were giving proper funding, if it were given, you know, play testers and given more developers and given a lot more resources that the other teams over at Fortnite have, that Epic Games is obviously pumping, you know, millions of dollars into, Save the World truly could be an extremely popular game, as it offers something that no other game in that, you know, particular market really offers. I mean, all you got to do is take a look at the market where you have stuff like Warframe and Destiny, you know, these free-to-play PvE looter shooter-esque games, and then you look at Save the World, a game that very similarly to stuff like Destiny and Warframe offers something that no other game does, and it's like a hybrid between tower defense and run and gun and collecting and building and all sorts of other things. Save the World has potential to hold a very big spot in that market if properly nurtured, but if you have Epic Games that completely neglect this side of the game and allow for stuff like inventory wipes to happen 3 times in a row, and, you know, Save the World server issues and all the problems that we've had in the past where these issues happen so consistently, then we're not going to see that. Epic Games needs to be held accountable for patches like this where they just happen way too often and nobody ever really does anything. Epic Games can just keep on doing this over and over and over again, and they don't ever really seem to catch any of the backlash for it. It's just something that I really wish they got properly held accountable by gaming journalists and other websites and other content creators, where they could just call this stuff out and say, hey man, this isn't right. And everybody could collectively, hopefully, maybe make a change in the end. But there's very big issues with stuff like, you know, communication and stuff like funding for the Save the World team and playtesting, where patches like this just happen way too often. I think that's pretty much everything that I really do want to talk about in today's video. I just wanted to go over the patch as a whole, go over all the information, and just give my opinions on the whole situation. I try to do this time to time whenever this kind of stuff happens, as I believe that as my role as a content creator, I really should be talking about this kind of stuff, and at least try to be a voice for the community. This kind of stuff's absolutely ridiculous, and Epic Games, if you're listening, please give Save the World the proper funding that it actually deserves. Having this kind of stuff happen as often as it does is absolutely ridiculous, and for a multi-billion-dollar company, it's pretty freaking embarrassing. But guys, that's pretty much it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Make sure to leave a like on the video if you did like it, if you did not, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next time.